Hi everyone, this is James Erdmans from Finance of America Mortgage. I wanted to send a short video regarding appraisals, which is kind of a super hot topic these days, especially in new construction, where not only have we experienced property values rising like we have over the last few years, but also building costs seem to be going up literally by the week. First, I want to kind of explain the value that an appraiser provides is not fact. It's that appraiser's subjective opinion based on data, comparing the property to other properties that have sold in a reasonably close proximity to that property. Realize that appraisers are people. They're like us. There's differences. They have opinions. There's preferences. And while each appraiser is going to use data to support their end value, that data can vary based on the opinion of the appraiser. It's very possible to get two high quality appraisals with great data that yield different results, and sometimes those differences can be pretty dramatic. For instance, one appraiser may prioritize location to the subject property, and another might have a higher preference toward an architectural design or the age of the property or how the date of the sale, meaning, the properties they're using to compare to the subject, how recent were those sales and how old were those sales. Simply put, the first appraiser may be more inclined to stay within a given community, use the data that's there if there's enough, while the second appraiser may be not only use that community's sales data, but also might have a preference to go outside and stay within a close proximity, but use other sales that might be more comparable in architectural design, how old that property is, and how recent those sales were compared to the data that was in that community. There are many factors an appraiser must consider when determining what comparable sales to use, and it's up to each appraiser to make that decision according to their judgment. If at all possible, the appraisers are encouraged to bracket their value with using comparable sales that are both lower and higher than the subject property. They then will use adjustments comparing the amenities from each property to the property they're appraising. The end value is simply taking the comparable properties that they're using and comparing all the pros and cons to each one, all the amenities, square footage, condition, location, size of the lot, age, comparing that to the subject property and coming up with that end value. All that being said is, how is Finance of America different? I would just use one word: relationships. We have the same rules, the same regulations that everybody else does. However, due to the volume of new construction that we do, and specifically my branch and team, we've vetted our appraiser panel to utilize people that are in the local markets that have a level of expertise in the new construction market. A lot of larger lending institutions may have 20, 30, or even more appraisers on their panel, some of which have probably never done a pre-construction appraisal, or maybe even have very little experience in the new construction environment in general. In our case, we have a handful of appraisers in each area that are very familiar with the local areas and communities and also are well versed in doing new construction. The appraisal process is already hard enough. With how property values have increased over the years, new construction is even harder because new construction is always pioneering the values in a given area, because buying something new is almost always going to cost more than buying something used. And the appraiser has the challenge of supporting those new sales prices and values based on data that is months and maybe even over a year old. While I can never promise that our appraisers are always going to support value on every transaction, I can say that they are going to always work diligently and turn up any and all data in an effort to do so. Lastly, what do you do with this information and how does it impact your buyers? Do you have the conversation initially about the risks of a short appraisal on a new construction home? Or do you deal with it at the end if and when it comes up? Ultimately, that is your decision. However, you should be educated on how short appraisals impact certain loan programs. For instance, FHA. Once the appraisal is completed, it's logged and it's associated with that property for 120 days. If it comes in short, we're all stuck. It doesn't matter if the borrower switches lenders. The appraisal remains for that property for 120 days. You may want to have a conversation with your borrowers regarding the appraisal process if they're doing an FHA loan before they commit to a lender. With conventional, it's not as rigid. The borrower could ask the lender for a second opinion, even a second appraisal, or they could even switch lenders whereby a new appraisal report would be ordered by the new lender and possibly yield a completely different value. I'm happy to talk to you guys individually, answer any questions you have, and collaborate with how you want to manage this process with your buyers. Feel free to call, email me, or anyone on my team, and I'm happy to help. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.